Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. This is TheSketchMonkey here. I'm back at Clear Shift to have a look at this beautiful house on wheels. And this is the 2023 Cadillac Escalade Sport Platinum, completely murdered out. As you can see, I think it looks fantastic with the shorter wheelbase. So what we're gonna do in this video is have a look, of course, at the front end, the side, the rear, the interior, and then we're gonna take this for a drive. We're gonna do a couple of small, tiny redesigns to the front end. Big thanks to clearshift.com for providing this vehicle for me to review. I'm gonna link this and their entire inventory down in the description. Before we jump into the design here, let's talk about some of the basic spec and tech for this Escalade. You have a 6.2 liter V8 putting out 420 horsepower and 460 pound-feet of torque, connected to a 10-speed automatic. Fuel economy sits at 14 city, 19 miles per gallon highway. 0 to 60 miles per hour is done in 5.8 seconds, and the starting price is $104,000. Starting with the front end design of this beauty, I absolutely love it when it's completely blacked out like this. When you get the sport trim, this entire grille is blacked out instead of having these chrome bars that you have in the non-sport. We also have a desaturated badge in the middle. I don't think this is stock, but I think it looks really good to just still have the chrome outside here, because it has something in the front end that pops with the chrome. And if you're gonna have some chrome in the front end, it should, in my opinion, be the logo. What makes the Cadillac Escalade special to me is it just doesn't get more stately than this. It has this huge facade in the front end. It feels like I should put on some harnesses and start climbing this wall of front end. You also have these very big, large LEDs on the side, which is probably the longest LEDs I've ever seen in a production car, looking very clean. And these also connect with the rest of the brand. You have the same styling in the CT5 and the CT4 sedans and the other SUVs as well. They all have this strip of LED in the side, which I think is great for brand identity, and it definitely makes you instantly recognize this is a Cadillac. Now, this is a fantastic front end, but that doesn't mean that there's a couple of things that I would like to redesign on this very stately machine that we have here. For example, look at this. We have a gorgeous chamfer on the side of the lower part of the front end, and it has this very sharp corner at the bottom part, but it houses this LED. What I want to do here is create a little bit more of a motion in this section. This corner down here feels a little too sharp for me because we have a radius in the grille here. Let's put the same radius here. And I also want to make this an intake, so we have a grille pattern on the side of the front end. In addition, to work maybe a little bit on the headlights, I do love the full LED headlights that we have here, but I think we can make them more integrated in the grille in some way. I'm gonna have to experiment a little bit with that and see what comes out of those experiments. Maybe even cut the top trim that we have above the grille that goes into the hood, have that just be a hood and then a clear endpoint for where the graphics of the front end starts. Coming around to the side view of the 2023 Cadillac, this is, as I said, the shorter wheelbase. I feel it feels better in proportions than the long wheelbase. Talking about the wheels and tires, we have 22-inch wheels. It might not look like 22s on this big machine here because of the volumes of the car and the proportions, but these are 22s, and the width of the tire is 275 millimeters wide all around. So what I want to do here is just talk about this line flow. I hope you can see it on the camera. We have a very sharp, crisp shoulder line cutting through the entire car going into the taillights right here. And we also have another line cutting in the bottom. Hopefully you can see that on the camera, but it continues down here and then goes into the rear bumper. So we have some very nice line flow with these two lines. And this is always, when you have a big volume like this, a tall volume, you want to carve out some volume, you use a line like this to carve out the bottom section of the car. One detail I like about this design is the designers still had a little bit of fun in this area here when they sketched this up, because you can see this subtle upswing of the greenhouse, and this creates some sort of identity of the Cadillac. Not just have everything be completely horizontal. We do have some styling going on in this area, but this is one of these cars. It's the big brother. As I've said before, the big brother in lineup is also always supposed to be a little bit more serious in its design and dialed down, stately horizontal vertical lines. And other than this, I think that's exactly what this Cadillac does, but it's good to have a little bit of fun, even in the big brother like this, to create some curvatures in this area. And this is what the key for the 2023 Cadillac Escalade Sport Platinum looks like. You have lock, unlock, remote start. You can open the trunk by double clicking either of these two buttons, and you have a panic button. And if you want to close it back up, you just hit him 2 times again. Coming around to the back end of the Escalade, it looks just as stately back here as it does in the front end, with a lot of horizontal lines combined with vertical lines. And again, if the front end LEDs were big and tall, these are even bigger than this. And I think it looks beautiful having it continue along the very corner of this design. And you also have almost 3D printed looking indicators on the side with the Cadillac logo imprinted on top of this piece itself. Very beautiful design, and as you can see, we don't have a wiper sticking out here and ruining this elegance. It's hidden up here underneath this big spoiler, which also in a side view sends the design off in a very nice way. Moving down to the lower section of the Escalade, we don't have any sort of aggressive diffuser, and I think that's good. It's an Escalade, it's supposed to be a luxury. It's not the sportiest Escalade that you can get, so why not dial it down a little bit? And we also have very large but very square 2 exhaust pipes, and this sounds really good with the V8 up front, which we're going to have a look at in just a second. Welcome to the interior of the 2023 Cadillac Escalade Sport Platinum. It's absolutely gorgeous in here. We have some very nice wood trim, but the big feature in here when this came out was the curved double layer screen. So we have a 7.2 inch screen all the way to the left, and then we have a 14.2 inch gauge cluster, but we're not done there because we have a 16.9 inch infotainment screen stretching all the way to this point. And I think this integration of screens like this, probably one of the better I've seen, because it feels like they put some effort into making this look nice and integrated with the rest of the flow of the design. Super cool design by Cadillac. So let's fire this up because it's getting very hot in here, so I gotta put on some cooling. Now that the car is on, it's actually super cool to see how these screens work. So you have this little info screen here at the side, where you can see the trip and the fuel economy and stuff like that. Very basic stuff. And you can adjust the head-up display, the brightness of it, and the height of it. Super cool to have a small little display on the side like that. Then you have the 14.2 inch gauge cluster in the middle, which also looks very crisp with its resolution. You have a big speedometer in the middle, which looks like it could be an analog style. You have the tachometer to the very left bottom corner of the screen, and over here of course you have the big infotainment screen, which looks like it's very useful and very easy to swipe left and right. And you have all the features that you need. You have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. You have Alexa, ambient lighting, all the cameras, you can access them right here and check them out. You have normal, wide, overhead, and the side cameras, so complete 360 camera. And further down, we have this big blade of air vents, which is super easy to adjust. You have 2 for the passengers, then 1 big in the center, and then 1 smaller one here on the driver's side, looking clean. Down here you have the physical buttons, analog buttons, for the climate control, but they do have a display that shows what it is you're adjusting, and I'm totally fine with this. I think this is a gorgeous integration as well, to have it like this, where you just use the physical buttons, but what you're doing with the buttons, it shows up as a digital little icon. Beautifully done with the graphics and the layout and the integration of this piece inside of the dash itself. Moving further down, you have the gear shifter, which looks like a pretty normal one for these type of products. You also have a couple of buttons here for the navigation, for example, and you can use this scroll wheel. If you don't want to use the swipe, you can always use this scroll wheel as well to figure out where you want to go in the infotainment screen. You have the buttons for lane keep assist, automatic stop and stop of the engine, and auto hold. And you have a big cup holder here, which is housed in this gorgeous wooden trim, looking absolutely beautiful. So under here you have a bit of a storage compartment. You have 2 USBs, USB-C and USB. You have 2 cup holders. You also have some storage for your phone in the middle of this piece. Opening up the armrest in the middle, you have more USB ports here. You have a USB-C, USB, and a memory card reader with some compartments here. You can take this off and it looks like this, different depth for these small bins. You also have a 12-volt cigarette outlet. The seats in here, I love the way they are styled with the Cadillac logo in the backrest itself. And this car is equipped with no less than 38 speakers in here. And a part of those speakers are actually in the headrests themselves. So if you don't have to worry about missing a beat when you have the speakers right next to your ears. Pretty cool integration. Overall, the seats looks gorgeous. I love the design of this, the perforation in the middle and the white piping that we have going on top. These are heated and ventilated in the front end. The second row, they're heated, and you also have tri-climate controls in here for the front and the middle row as well. The same styling that we have here on the dash, all the details, the chrome, the wood, which I feel suits this specific car, it all comes back in the beautiful steering wheel. You have a 3-spoke steering wheel with the wooden trim and the chrome going around it with the Super Cruise function. So this LED that you have up here is for Super Cruise, which is, as you know, an automatic driving assistant. 3-spoke design for the wheels. You have the controls for the radio and the controls for the cruise control on the spokes with some paddles on the back side. These feel pretty small, these paddles, but this is a car that I don't think you're gonna use the paddles a lot when you're driving this car. Up top, we have a absolutely huge sunroof. So let's see if I can figure out how to open this thing. Right there, it goes back all the way to the headrests of the second row, but I'm gonna keep that closed because it's very hot in here right now. You also have the garage opener and the buttons for folding the third row seats. Moving on to the doors, it's a pretty simplistic styling of the doors, which I kind of like because you have the same chrome and wood trim going in to the doors themselves with some storage, big storage in the bottom part of it. And overall, it's just a beautiful looking door panel. Last but not least, of course, you do have a glove box, pretty decent size as well. That's enough about the front end of this interior. I'm gonna jump back there and show you what it feels like to sit in the second row seat. Jumping in to the second row seat, and we do have some infotainment here. A small little TV for you. You also have the climate control settings separate here from what's going on in the front end. And you have some storage compartments with 2 cup holders. USB ports down there. You have 2 USB-Cs and 2 HDMI ports if you want to connect it, of course, to this TV, with some normal storage pockets in the seats in front of you. And these are the captain's chairs, so we do have these armrests, and it feels pretty comfortable back here to just sit and cruise around. One cool feature right here in the back is that you can open the top part individually from the entire trunk, which is useful if you have small stuff you just want to throw in here. But if you want to open the full thing, it opens up pretty wide. You can do it, as I said earlier, with the remote. And inside here you have pretty decent amount of storage with all the buttons for folding the seats here if you want to do that. You also have a 12-volt house outlet back here with a couple of cup holders for the third seat. Alright guys, setting off in the 2023 Cadillac Escalade Sport Platinum with a 6.2 liter V8, 420 horsepower and 460 pound-feet of torque. So it is not a small engine in this thing, but it is also, of course, a very big vehicle. So you can't really feel the acceleration be doing something crazy, but it still feels like you have all the torque you need to get this thing moving properly. Super comfortable in here. I mean, would you expect anything else from a Escalade? That's what this was built to do. And I think Cadillac right now, as I said with the CT4 review, they are on something when it comes to their design language right now. They're doing everything right, and across the entire lineup, from the smallest models to the big Escalades, I think they have a very clean and clear identity for their cars. Talking about these screens here, we have the 3-screen setup, which is nuts in a car like this. I think Cadillac did it in a very beautiful way, super integrated in the dash itself. I now have the augmented reality up, so if I had a map up now, for example, it would show me the arrows in real time where I'm supposed to turn. It's a very cool system. I like this integration. It doesn't feel like it's too much glare in here, even though I would expect it because it's such a big screen setup. But I think that has to do with the angle. It's almost 90 degrees here, which means that the sun is not gonna hit the screens directly. All right, so we're coming out of the parking lot here. Let's step on it and let's see what this Caddy got under the hood. 420 horsepower. As I said, it doesn't really feel that fast because it's such a huge mass that this 6.2 liter V8 needs to move, but it still has a nice sound to it, and it also has a lot of torque to it, so you can definitely feel it pulling you in a very nice way. The seats feel very comfortable, but they don't feel like they're going to hug you if you take a corner too fast. Same thing there, it's an Escalade, it's more focused on luxury than sport, so I totally get it. But they're absolutely beautiful when it comes to the design of them and the textures, perforations that we have in the seats themselves. Big thanks to ClearShift for providing this 2023 Cadillac Escalade for me to review for you guys today. If you enjoyed this type of videos, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. And I'm gonna link this car and their full inventory down in the description if you're interested in checking out what they have right now. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.